Benchwarmers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins, joined by Alvin Hebert.
What it is.
And Andrew Lira.
Winter's here.
Who is back in action after a week hiatus.
Welcome back.
And this episode's all NBA other than what else happened? Oh, yeah. Tiger Woods won a fucking major again.
Who?
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Chris Rock?
Finishing out a great Masters tournament. To me, it's one of the best tournaments overall that I can remember. There have been those moments where Jordan Spieth ran away with it and just completely just separated from the pack early. A couple times when Phil won, and then the times Tiger's won where he's put everybody to bed.
Straight domination.
But this one, going into Saturday, you had probably a good 15-20 people who were in range to make a move and get themselves into the final group. And then on Sunday, you had about the same amount of people. And then towards the end of the round, the back nine, you look at the leaderboard and you have 10 guys within a stroke or two of the lead. And everybody who watches the Masters knows how easily that lead can slip. And it ended up happening where Francesco Molinari, who had been making everything all day, looked like he was going to just par his way to victory. He was just able to get up and down on a lot of holes in the front nine. He makes a bad club choice and on 15 hits it into the water, and then that allows Tiger to make up a stroke, and I believe he took the lead on that hole. He was able to take a one-stroke lead there, and then in 16 almost aces the par 3. That would have just, I think, blown up the entire earth because of how loud everybody was going to be who was watching, and was able to go up 2 strokes with 2 holes to play. And I didn't get to watch 15 and 16 unfold, but I sure as hell watched 17 and 18. And Brooks Koepka, who is, known as a big game hunter because he has, I believe, 5 victories on tour, 3 of which are majors. So he always plays his best in the big tournaments. He has a 8-foot putt on the 18th to put some pressure on Tiger and get 1 stroke back. And he just misses it by a couple inches, which allowed Tiger to really coast on the 18th and not overhit and just kind of play it safe on 18 because all he needed to do was bogey to win. So he finishes it up, and then, shades of his 97 win when he walks off of 18 and gives his dad a big hug. He walks off of 18 and gives his son a big hug, and his daughter and his mom were there too, and so they had a big, nice family moment. And the entire tour, you could see just like lit up with joy. Like, even though they just lost to this guy, they know how much he means to the game of golf. And so they're all around the clubhouse there to congratulate him and like just bask in the moment of Tiger. So that was really the biggest story from the weekend is now he's at 15 majors. Nicklaus is at 18, and over the last 3 majors, Tiger has had the lead on the back 9 on Sunday of one of them. Had another, I want to say, top 5, top 10 finish, and had a chance to win in the other, and then now he's won the Masters, so he's back in full Tiger form. The difference is now, instead of running away with everything he does, he has to play it a little safer and try to be a little more consistent. And we'll see how the rest of the year plays out, because that was just the first major. We have 3 more. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a 43-year-old get a Grand Slam, take Ty Nicklaus. Just want to have like the most ridiculous golfing year ever.
Just like the sport world on fire.
Yeah, I mean,
dude, he had his swagger all weekend. Like after Saturday, you had that feeling like, can Tiger take it? Cause he had that.
But it was a different swagger than the old swagger of Tiger, where he was just like he was kind of a brash in your face kind of person. But you could definitely see he was so confident in everything he did.
He came up from the ashes, born the phoenix, and he fucking flew away with it. Like he just watch it. He was on fire all day Saturday.
I think it started on the 12th hole, because everybody was missing the 12th hole, but he played it safe on the 12th hole, got the birdies there, and then the 16th hole was where I felt like he's about to clinch it. Like the 16th hole is what clinched it. I think he went up 2 shots.
He talked about the 16th because right after the 15th, I believe both Molinari and Finau hit it into the water, and so
he hit it over the water and 4 feet left it 4 feet right there by the cup.
He just said, "All right, well, I just need to hit this spot. Like I can't worry about anything else. I have to make sure I have the club to get there." And then the Masters greens took its course and almost trailed that ball right into the hole. And like I said, if he would hit a hole in one on 16 on Sunday of the Masters, they should have just ended the tournament there. Like, we don't need to play 17 and 18.
For
like
sure they
that's the hole we want to end on. But I mean, the trick about the Masters course, the US Open tournament has been known to be the toughest because they always pick the hardest courses for that tournament. But the Masters, it's played at the same spot, at the same course every year. And every year you see that some guys, if you miss right by 10 yards and you try to make up for it and overdo anything, now you're looking at getting a double bogey easy. And that's, I think, the mystique of the Masters is that course. It's known by everybody on the tour, and they play it every year and they get used to it. And they, some of the guys, it's their 10th, 15th, 20th Masters, and you look at them play it and they still hit it into the pine straw. They still can't hit the right putt. They have a bad drive and they try to make up with it for it on their next shot, and then that shot goes awry, and now they're in a worse position than they were off of the drive. And that was what Tiger did so well all 4 days. And like you said, Andrew had his swagger back. Is the Thursday and Friday, I watched his rounds, and he drove the ball into the pine straw, into the trees 3 or 4 times in each round, but he was able to find a spot in the trees and hit through it and get himself into a position to get a par. And that's what some of the guys on Saturday and Sunday that lost couldn't do. I was watching a Brooks Koepka hole and he hits it into the pine straw and he tries to kind of punch through a spot and the ball rises on him and nails a tree and shoots sideways and he ends up bogeying because of just trying to do too much with the second shot. And every single time Tiger was able to manage and scrape by with the par. And he only I think bogeyed 7 or 8 times the entire tournament, and it was typically because of poor putting and just missing a couple things. He bogeyed the same hole I think for all every round. I want to say it was the 5th hole. He bogeyed every single round of the tournament, but that was 4 of his 7 bogeys the entire time. And it's good to see him back and winning tournaments and competing and being there on Sunday, because there's nobody else like him for the PGA. And there have been a couple people who looked promising, like, okay, this is going to be the next person, and then they just falter. Like
Jordan,
like Rory. Before
Rory.
Jordan, Rory was supposed to be that guy, and then he started dating Caroline Wozniacki, and both of their careers started falling apart, and then they broke up, and that's when Rory kind of went on a little bit of a run. And
Fuck love. It's love.
and now she's married to David Lee, the ex-Spur, Nick, and Warrior. But yeah, he was supposed to be the next guy, and then Jordan came up, and like I talked about his Masters, and he's won a few majors already, and he's young, and he has all the game, but in the last year, he's fallen apart.
Oh yeah,
and so I mean, Ricky Fowler is a popular player.
Dusty.
Dustin Johnson's popular, but those two guys don't carry the same type of like stature with fans. I think Dustin
that's
Johnson
why this was more special.
Is the reason Dustin Johnson is mostly popular is because he's married to Paulina Gretzky.
Guess who her dad is?
Bobby Orr. So it's amazing to see what Tiger does as far as ratings go and tournaments, and the crowd that just surrounds the PGA when he's playing well. And after getting his spine fused and taking the year off and kind of figuring out his swing and going back to his old putter, now everything's clicking, and we'll see if he can be the Tiger of old. And I think the most mystifying thing about this win is that this is the first major where he didn't share or have an outright lead going into Sunday. This is the first time he's ever come back from a deficit to win a major. And the confidence that will put in him going forward, we'll see if he can, last a couple more years before the back goes out again and he's going to need to retire and move on to the next chapter, and see if he can get 1 or 2 and get just get a little bit closer to Nicklaus's record and see where that all goes. Are there any other words about Tiger that y'all want to say before we start talking NBA playoffs?
Nah, man, I got what I said. It was fucking nuts. This is a great dad moment. Watching all today, and after it was all said and done, watching the picture collage of 97 hugging his dad, and then to Sunday hugging his son. I was like, damn. Yeah, I think that was awesome. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole thing is It's a generational.
kind
thing.
of like the Nike commercial that came out after it, when it was, him showing him on video as a 3-year-old. Everybody,
Mhm.
everybody who knows Tiger Woods' story, like, knows that he was on Johnny Carson as a 5-year-old, showing Johnny Carson how he drove, and he was hitting, like, pristine drives off of a tee at 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he was the prodigy, and then the collegiate career, the amateur career he had, and then the first year he goes pro, he just comes onto the scene and is out driving everybody by 30 yards. So I always I liked when I liked one thing that Tiger did after he won the tour championship last year, his first win in however many years. ESPN did a little documentary called Return of the
Mac?
the Roar.
Oh.
Return of the Roar.
That was a great movie though.
And
Great song.
and
too.
he talks about how his kids, when just they were young, and every time they saw their dad play, they saw him being hurt, and so they just thought that golf hurt their dad, and so they didn't want him to do it anymore. And then to be there on Sunday and watch him walk off a Masters champion and see how all the fans are chanting his name and how all the players on tour respect him so much, that he talks about, like, now they can see, like, what golf means to him in the good way.
Yeah.
So it was a special moment, and it was a special tournament. And before we move on, does he get to 18? Andrew, do you see him getting to 18 majors?
Are we considering health, or is it just like a shot in the dark?
I mean, I would say consider health. Do you think he's going to be able to hold up to make it to 18? That's part of the whole thing.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Is that more a hopeful yes, though?
Yeah, of course. It's all hope.
Alvin, who, before you answer, I do want to just kind of toot my own horn. Last week when I talked about Masters, I did it as my prophecy. I said Rory McIlroy was going to win, and I know that doesn't sound like I'm tooting my own horn.
It's a reverse jinx.
But I said it was a reverse jinx because I want Tiger to win.
Nice cop out. That was nice.
So, Alvin, do you see him getting there?
He's basically playing horseshoes with that.
I think he falls short.
Yeah, do you see him getting another one?
I do, but
Do you see him get another 2?
I think he gets to 17,
Okay.
and then unfortunately that would be like he's like, I can't go another one.
Yeah, that's the tricky part of all this is, if I was to tell y'all, he's gonna play another 5 years fully healthy, I think we'd all be in the boat that he gets to 18.
Oh yeah.
But there's no guarantees on that, and even if he stays healthy, he might not even play 5 years. And
Well, he already said he's going to be playing selective.
yeah,
He's not going to play every single one of them. So,
well, he'll play every major, but
every major, but
he won't play every
tournament.
He won't be coming back to Texas.
No, that's so disappointing. I was seriously thinking about buying tickets if he would have ended up beating who was it that he lost to? I don't even remember. Some European guy, Beauregard, something like that. And if he would have gone into Sunday, I would have probably bought tickets to go see him, because he hasn't played in Texas in 14 years, and that was like the one chance to get to see him that I'm like disappointed I didn't go. But
Another athlete that hates the Riverwalk.
You talking about Charles Barkley last night?
Yeah.
Did he say something
Yeah.
again?
Always.
again. They were in Houston. He's still talking shit. Can't do that with them big ass women in San Antonio.
I think he just plays it up now.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's his
It's
thing
all for
now.
ratings. It's
Yeah.
all for ratings. He knows what he's doing.
And
He fucking loves San Antonio.
on that note,
The true eyes.
let's and since I didn't answer it, no, I don't see Tiger getting to 18, as disappointing as that is. I would love to see him get to 19 and break the record, but missing all that time really put an anchor on his boat. So I don't see him getting there. I only see him actually getting one more before calling it quits, just because the tour is the most talented it's been maybe ever.
Well, in the leaderboards, 6 of them were ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, 8 of the top 10 were previous major winners, like on the leaderboard. So, it's no joke to be able to just win a tournament, let alone a major, because of how deep the tour is. So, let's move on to the NBA playoffs. And Saturday was a day of upsets.
3 upsets.
3?
And after Brooklyn and Orlando won the first 2 games, I was kind of getting nervous because I'm
Too many upsets.
I'm superstitious, and I was like,
well, there goes all our upsets.
yeah. And then the Warriors won, so that kind of balanced it out. I felt better that they were going to be winning when the Spurs tipped off. So let's start with the Saturday slate of games.
The
And
fun
like we said,
games.
like 3 road teams win. And I mean, yeah, we're Spurs fans here, and we're in San Antonio, so we kind of support the Spurs more than any other team. Alvin's a bit of a Bulls fan.
A bit.
But I do respect the Spurs. I do respect y'all.
But seeing as how they're not going to make the playoffs for another like 3 years.
What's with the daggers today?
I was like, damn.
Not even in the playoffs, and
No.
you got to talk about
That's
it.
uncalled for. It's
No,
just-
I
was
I
like,
mean
like
they're in
Spurs.
they're in the East, so all it takes is just like one draft pick to hit, and that gives them another 10 wins, and it gets them
They
there.
could get Zion and be in the playoffs next season.
That's true.
We
I
got a
mean,
good chance.
So
You making the pick or what?
Best believe that's going to happen.
is the Brooklyn upset of Philadelphia or the Orlando upset of Toronto in Game 1 more surprising? Alvin, what do you have as more surprising?
The Orlando.
I was like, yeah.
That
Okay,
Orlando one
I
was
wanted
more
to
surprising.
because I'm on that same board, in that same boat. And then I kind of think about it though, and I'm like, Toronto, I don't know what it is about that team and that franchise, but they cannot win a Game 1. And I thought DeMar DeRozan was going to bring the Toronto curse to San Antonio when I watched that game.
And you know what's crazy? Is everyone was hoping was like, okay, we need Aldridge to have a good game. We need Aldridge to have a good game. Aldridge didn't have a great game.
No, Aldridge was
He was cold.
him and DeRozan were pretty bad. And DeRozan ended up with 18 and being the high scorer, but
Derek White's defense.
he also was 6 of 17 from the floor. And I think that it was mostly like he was a -3 plus minus. And
Made up numbers.
I mean, I don't think so, because when I like watching the game, I didn't feel like he was a catalyst. It was Derek White.
Derek
was-
White outplayed all of Denver.
I feel like DeRozan gave you what y'all needed.
Yeah.
he kept it even keel, and then Derek White was that spark plug that
Him and Bryn Forbes,
Yeah,
both of
that
those
got
two,
y'all over the
like
hump
those
on
two
that.
guys were the reasons. Rudy Gay's minutes were huge,
Yes.
and
also Denver
like-
did not shoot very well.
like as
Well, neither did San Antonio.
Yeah, neither
that
did
was
San
that
Antonio.
was the whole thing though. Is Denver
Nobody was
the
shooting
last
well.
few weeks of the season, they were kind of lucky to hold on to the 2 seed. They wouldn't have if Houston didn't just shut down the last couple games, and but that was like Denver has to shoot better, but they haven't been shooting well the last 3 weeks. So they're in a shooting funk. And they don't really have great shooters to begin with. Their best shooter is Jamal Murray. And thank God he was off, because the Spurs offensive execution down the stretch of the game, it was it just goes to what I was kind of ranting about DeMar DeRozan when we went to Topgolf, is they just like to they put the ball in his hands towards the end of a game, and he's, you know, forcing up 17-18 footers, and just the offense doesn't have a good flow when they like towards the end of a game, because they're trying to get DeMar going, because, you know, he's their best ball handler and their best playmaker.
Arguable, both of them.
Right. and so they almost lost the lead, and then down or up 1, they give up a wide open 14-footer to Jamal Murray, who leaves it short, and Aldridge hits his free throws. And then right after Jamal Murray misses that wide open shot that would have given them the lead, he gets stripped at center court by Derek White, who was, like we said, he was the most important player on the floor for both teams. Like he was the best player on the court.
We've seen this from Derek White all year, but now it's like everybody saw that.
I don't think he was the best player on the court, because Jokic did have like a triple double.
Jokic wasn't dominant though.
He wasn't dominant, but
He had a triple double.
doubles are made up numbers. We've come up with that already.
That's big getting a triple double.
He had because they run their offense through his passing ability.
Yeah,
And yeah, he got 14 assists, and it could have been 20 if they were shooting the ball well. But
making shots.
But that was about how the Spurs were playing him. Like he wasn't the best player on the court, even though he had a triple double, because the Spurs double teamed him, and he didn't get to take over the game. Like Gary Harris was probably their best player. Gary Harris was the reason they almost came back and won. It wasn't because Jokic was dominating. It was because Gary Harris started taking over and making shots.
But what Jokic was doing was keeping them in the game. I mean, like he's the best player on the floor in this series, but
did he keep him in the game, or did the Spurs keep them in the game?
Well, I believe it was a mixture of both, because he was the only player other than Gary Harris that was like actually making stuff happen for the team.
I think if the Spurs had a good shooting night, it wouldn't have been as close as it was.
But if Denver had a good shooting night too, you think it wouldn't be close either?
Yeah, same thing.
Well, I mean, it goes both ways. If one team shoots better, it's the tables get turned. But the thing is that I don't like watching that game. Jokic's performance is completely forgettable, even though he's one of 6 players in NBA history to get a triple-double in their first career playoff game. Like, yeah,
Russ averaged another triple-double all fucking for the whole year.
He got a triple-double, but he shot the ball 9 times, and he was the only one that had more than 5 assists for their team. They had a total of 25 assists, and he had 14 of them. Like, he is their playmaker, but just because, you know, a point guard or a guard or somebody gets 8, 9, 10 assists doesn't mean that they were the best player on their team. It was they did what was necessary as far as their execution, but he wasn't their best player, and that wasn't good.
I think that's his downplay because they lost. I don't understand how somebody that put up those numbers is not their best player.
Because Gary Harris was their best player.
I don't think so.
Gary Harris was their catalyst.
Just like how Derek White was their guy's.
It could be the best player, but he wasn't the difference maker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting
he's
to.
Denver's best player. I'm not arguing that, but in game 1, he was not their best player, and he needed to be.
He wasn't their
I don't
impact
know.
player.
Yeah, that's what I'm agreeing
For
with.
Denver to win the series, he has to make more than 4 field goals. Like,
Well, yeah.
I'm not worried about the 14 assists because that's the whole the Spurs. Like every year, the Spurs in the playoffs, and Pop creates a scheme on defense and says, "All right, here's what they do best. Let's try to limit it." So for LeBron, it was actually limiting the assist numbers for LeBron. It was making him score. For Jokic, it was obvious they didn't want him posting up. They didn't want him being able to go one-on-one against Aldridge or Pirtle. They were going to let him get as many assists as possible. And at some point, they needed to figure out a way to make him the most valuable player on the court. And even though he had a triple-double, I don't think that his performance was very memorable. Now, he's not the reason they lost, because that's Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is the reason that Denver lost that game. 8 of 24, 0 of 6 for 3, the missed bunny at the end, and he had 6 steals. But his offensive numbers, and him being the one that, was the guy that says, "All right, let me take the shot," like Malone drawing up a pick and roll so that they could get him, either have him shoot the shot that he took or get Jokic on a roll, which the Spurs were going over the top, and they were making sure that roll wasn't there. And they were going to let them get that 18-footer all night. That was the defense. That was but Jokic, it's the type of player he is, where, he's going to say, like, let's run, a regular set. But you kind of wish that another comparison to LeBron here is, it's like sometimes you kind of wish that LeBron would just say, "Screw it, I'm going to take this shot. I'm going to get to the spot, and even if I'm contested, I'm going to be the one that takes a fadeaway 18-footer. Like, get the little Kobe, Jordan, like, Manu was the guy like that for the Spurs. Manu was the one that would, say, take the ball at the end of quarters, at the end of shot clocks, and make something happen, and say, "Screw the offense, I'm going to make something happen." Jokic needed to do that. Maybe not right there at the end, but at some point of the game, he needed to say, "I'm going to make something happen." Especially when, if you look at the first quarter, he got Pirtle into foul trouble early, and I believe he got LaMarcus a few fouls early, and so there was a path for him to get a triple double in the first half just by being dominating, but he didn't dominate. Like, the triple double, cool, he got a triple double, but the performance that you remember from Saturday night is Derek White. And that is a huge sign for Denver. That's a big red flag. Like if Derek White is the most memorable player on the court in a game, that means your guys didn't play well. And that probably means San Antonio wins. So it was it was a pretty ugly game, though. You had some guys who shot the ball well. Like Derek White, like I said, shot it well. Bryn Forbes shot it well. Rudy Gay shot it well. And Patty Mills had 3 shots. And then on Denver's side, Gary Harris was 7 of 12. And then Malik Beasley was 3 of 5. Then you have a couple guys 2 of 4, a couple guys 4 of 9. And they, as a team, Denver shot 42%, 21% from 3, 67% from the free throw line.
Straight garbage.
The 42% from the floor isn't terrible, but 6 of 28 from 3 is not good. Is not good. Not good. I mean the Spurs were 7 of 15 from 3. So, I mean, they didn't blow this game away with their 3-point shooting or like getting to the foul line a lot, because they actually got outshot from the foul line by 4 attempts, and they got outshot from the floor by 5 attempts. It was just that, you know, the Spurs played Spurs playoff basketball. And I was listening to the Ringer NBA show and the Bill Simmons playoff preview, and nobody gave the Spurs a chance. And I was a little surprised to hear that, just because like they should know by now that the guys that they're making fun of for the Spurs playing like a bunch of minutes has been, you know, the Spurs recipe for the last 20 years. Like, yeah, they had the big 3, but they got key minutes from about to be retired Steve Kerr, and about to be retired Steve Smith, and about to be retired Michael Finley. And like, you can go down the list of guys who have contributed in the playoffs for them, and it was a bunch of old guys on their last legs or young guys who hadn't cut their teeth in the league yet. But at some point, role players are the reason the Spurs compete night to night. As Shaq liked to say, the other guys. And the other guys for the Spurs have always been really good. And they've been good all year. And we've watched them all year. And like you said, Andrew, like, we've seen Derek White do this all year. Like, we're not surprised to see Derek White have this type of game.
Everyone else just did.
Yeah, and like everybody else is like, who's Derek White? But, you know, he's possibly an all defensive guard. So, that's enough on game 1 for the Spurs. We'll talk game 2, which is tomorrow night, here in a little bit. Let's get a little more into the other games. What game would y'all like to go to now? Is there a game? I know that we kind of talked about what was the biggest upset from Saturday. Do you want to go to that game? Do y'all want to talk Orlando, Toronto now?
Or we're going Philly, Brooklyn.
One of those two. We're going east.
I say Philly, Brooklyn.
Philly, Brooklyn. That was just a fun game.
Yeah.
It's funny to see. It's funny to see D'Lo do that while the Lakers are at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's what
he's not a leader, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
Man, the reasoning Magic gave for trading Russell is absolute bullshit. Like, that was complete garbage. Like, the dude is he's like 22 years old. It's like he wasn't a leader. Like,
is he like 22 right now?
Yeah.
So he was like what, 20?
He was 20. Yeah, he was like
Yeah,
20. He was 20
like
years.
19 when he came in the
Yeah.
league. Or
Yeah,
something.
he was 20 years old when the whole Nick Young thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And also, on top of the fact that he wasn't a leader, like, look at the fucking team that he was playing with. Look at the situation
Who am I
he got
supposed
drafted.
to lead?
Yeah, like, not even who am I supposed to lead, is who am I supposed to learn from on being a leader? Because I don't know if y'all know this, Magic wasn't much of a leader in the 80s. He was their catalyst and their point guard, and the reason why Showtime was Showtime. But Kareem was was the stable, the pillar of stability there. Like,
It's like Shaq and Kobe. Kobe wasn't the best player.
no, he ended up being their best player once he drove Shaq out of town.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's funny because I don't know if I would consider either one of those guys the leader. Like, look at those
I
early.
think their leader was like more like Derek
Rick
Fisher.
Fox.
Yeah.
Like, look at the teams that they had, and they had quite a bit of veterans.
Quite a bit. All
Derek-
of them were veterans.
Derek Fisher wasn't much of a veteran because he came into the league at the same draft as Kobe.
Yeah, but I mean, you got the
He was
Rick
still a
Fox,
veteran.
Robert Ory,
Yeah, like
Ron Harper at one point.
they had a lot of guys. Mark Madsen.
They
They had a lot of guys that were veterans and older players who knew how to be professionals, and that helped kind of that helped Phil at least temper the egos of Shaq and Kobe, and they can just ride how great those two guys were. Like, you have to have some sort of structure. And the Lakers, after Kobe retired, for the last 4 years, they haven't had a structure. This is the closest thing they have to a structure, and it's really just saying we are going to figure this out because we have LeBron now. Like, that's their structure. And so, Alvin, you said it a couple weeks ago, like, them trading D'Angelo Russell and just letting Julius Randle walk, those are just black marks on
Magic Johnson. Like, look what they got for D'Angelo Russell. And
Yeah.
then they got nothing for Julius Randle.
Yeah. and I mean, it's kind of funny because the Lakers traded D'Angelo Russell to get rid of Timofey Mozgov.
Yeah, to get rid of the contract, but then you pick up Brook Lopez's contract.
And Brooklyn was like, wait, you just want to get rid of that guy and we get this guy as part of it? Like,
And
like
we give you our number 27th pick, which ends up being
Being
Kyle Kuzma.
who's a solid player.
Yeah, but compared to D'Angelo Russell,
But
no.
yeah. He's never going to be an all-star. Let's just say that.
He might have like one or two All-Stars, depending.
I don't see it.
I could see probably one.
He will need to leave the Lakers and end
Yeah.
up being like a 25 a game scorer because he'll be a Devin Booker type of all-star.
Yeah, just numbers.
And him and Jimmy Butler, they went at it. But Ben Simmons, what the hell happened with him?
He didn't even
Nothing
improve.
happened.
He didn't improve
Exactly.
at all.
Like, he got
Nothing
worse
happened.
after a year. Like, he I think it's the whole Jenner Kardashian thing. He's intertwined in that curse.
Is it that, or is it the fact that he knows it's not his team?
It's probably a bit of both. I mean, he quit on LSU.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one, he was never a good shooter coming out of college. So you figure, all right, that's a game that you're gonna work on your off season after winning Rookie of the Year, right? Nah, you didn't work on that.
Yeah,
He
he
didn't-
didn't come with anything new.
You didn't work on your
Yeah.
free throw game.
Yeah, in
Like,
in
These,
like
these were your knocks coming out of college, bro.
yeah, it's just it looks like he's kind of checked out. But then, you have Tobias Harris, who was kind of a no-show.
Well, this is Tobias's first playoff game, or was it? Because I don't think in Detroit he went to a playoff
I
game.
don't remember. But yeah, he's
I know for sure not with Orlando.
still cutting his teeth in there.
Yeah.
But like, if it wasn't for Jimmy Butler, who knows where this game goes?
I mean, but I was telling everybody like Brooklyn is scary, bro.
But Philly, when they traded for Tobias Harris, and we talked about Philly, and we talked about how like what their prospects were as far as playoff goes. I brought up who, like, if they play Kyrie, like, who's guarding Kyrie? Like, no, they don't have anybody to guard Kyrie. And D'Angelo Russell isn't quite Kyrie offensively, but he's not far behind him. Like, I've always liked his offensive game, and
they're
he's
very similar.
yeah, one's just a lefty,
Yeah.
and like, and I just the Nets have a spot where Philly can take advantage, and they didn't. Like Joel Embiid, like I said with Jokic, like Joel Embiid wasn't the best player for Philly, wasn't the best player on the court, I don't even think I would say he was really top 3 on the court. I would say it was Jimmy Butler was the best player on the floor,
Hands down.
and then D'Angelo Russell and LeVert were 2 and 3, and then Joel Embiid. Like that just doesn't bode well for Philly. And I mean, it goes a little bit to Brown though, because it didn't seem like he was really trying to run things to get Joel Embiid going and like take advantage of his matchup, but it just seemed like they hadn't been there before when they were in the second round last year. And I mean, they got trounced by Boston, but they at least won a playoff series last year with most of this core. And Jimmy Butler has had playoff rounds, so they have experience. It was ugly. They were 3 of 25 for 3 at home.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make your shots.
That's similar to Denver being as bad as they were, but worse. They were 12% from the 3-point line.
I think Brooklyn matches up with them very well.
Philly shot
though.
42 free throws. 42 free throws compared to Brooklyn's 26. Like that's a 13 point. That's 13 points that they missed at the foul line, and they lost by 9.
They even had a chance to come back. They brought it back within 2, within 1 in the third quarter, and then it just all went to shit again.
Yeah, I mean it's
like, damn, dog.
The fans are booing Ben Simmons, and now he's talking shit to the fans. Like, you're not going to last your rookie contract with Philly. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's the same thing though for Ben Simmons. I think that it was with D'Angelo Russell. Is there's nobody holding him accountable at this young age, and he needs to be held accountable. But how do you hold somebody who's, you're supposed to be your future accountable? Like, what do you do? What would you do with Ben Simmons, Alvin?
If I was either Brett Brown or Elton Brand, I'll just pull him to the side. I'm like, look, this is playoff basketball. Fans are going to be the fans. Like, you can't let that like get you. Like, look what happened with Kyrie in the media, and even like with some Boston fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, he even came out later on saying like he didn't handle the bullshit well.
Yeah.
Like, you just gotta know, like, bullshit is bullshit. You let that aside, and you gotta come in with your game.
So you just kind of have a talk about,
like, you just gotta make sure that he has his confidence. Because I mean, like he was here last year. I mean, last year you balled out. Like so, it's like this was just a bad game. Leave it at that. Like come to the next game, clear headed, and play your game.
Yeah, but how do you hold somebody who's supposed to be your future accountable when, like we just said, he came into the league with things to work on, left. Well, when he came into the league, he missed a year. So his first full year, he left that year with things to work on. But the future looks so bright for him. And then he comes into the second year not having worked on what he needed to work on.
Shooting.
Not growing at all. Like there's no there's no growth there. And it just seems like he seems more interested and more enthusiastic about dating a Jenner than winning a championship.
Really? Because I haven't heard much about him dating her.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because that's like all I heard all year about him.
Well, I mean, I think that's like when it started. But
Yeah, I heard that last year. I haven't heard it really this
No,
year.
remember this could be the start of the curse, right?
I don't know, man.
Even though she's a Jenner, she lives with the Kardashians,
She's got her own house.
She has the stink though.
right? Yeah,
The stink. Get the
it-
fuck out of here. The stink.
the lingering smell.
She has the bad juju.
But like,
She's the good one too.
that
she is a
doesn't
good
fucking
one.
matter.
Yeah, it does. Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
She's more focused on her career, her modeling career. and all that.
Name one of the guys that these people have dated who have done
She's
better
not
afterwards.
really one of them though.
Yes, she is. She is one of them.
No.
One of us.
You don't even know them. You don't follow any kind of what is this pop culture deal?
I follow
She's-
some.
Nah,
I follow it enough to know that she's doing everything the same that
when you're
Kim
dating,
Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian did.
No.
when
Is she not coming out with a clothing line and her own makeup?
No, she's not. She's
Nah,
just strictly modeling.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't.
Yeah,
This is
you're talking
Kindle.
about
Kylie.
Kylie.
Yeah.
Like I said.
She's
But, like-
she's still part of that family.
Yeah, when it comes to them,
When they
dating
go
athletes,
to Thanksgiving as a family, where is Kendall Jenner gonna be?
With her family.
in the Kardashians,
In the
house.
Kardashians'
Oh,
house.
God, get out of
That's
here.
what we're getting at.
Y'all are fucking stretching.
She might.
Fucking Thanksgiving. Where are you gonna be for Thanksgiving?
She's
with
not-
your family?
Kardashians.
Yeah.
Not with the
But that's what I'm
Kardashians.
saying is that even though she might be going her own path and being her own self-made billionaire.
That's Kylie again.
I know. That's the tone. My tone was a joking tone there. It's sarcastic. That was
I can't tell the
that
sarcasm
was
when
that's
I don't
the
know.
sarcastic tone when I talk like this. This is my sarcastic voice.
Like this.
And it's just none of the guys that have been entrapped by this family have made themselves better. Like
Wow,
kind
a
Wow,
lot,
with
a lot
them.
of them are at their peak when they meet them.
right.
Yeah, because they're popular.
Like when was
It's like
The
you said.
popularity is high.
It's like if LeBron were to meet Kim, start dating, be like, well, he's not as good anymore. I was like, no, he's fucking 35 years old. What do you want from him?
James Harden dated one of them?
Still in his prime.
Lamar
Not even at his prime.
Lamar Odom.
He wasn't at his prime.
He was getting into his
Yeah,
prime.
he wasn't there yet.
He wasn't in his prime,
But yeah, he was also fucking fat. He came. That was him.
No. He got out of shape because he was living the nightlife. Like because he was trying to live the Kardashian lifestyle with
The
them.
Moroccan trips.
And then when he
the fucking boat ride.
When-
yeah.
Well, yeah, it was boat rides and the yacht parties on 4th of July.
yeah, the yacht party.
like no, and I know this is a little bit of a stretch, but Chris Humphries, when he married Kim for half a day,
A double machine.
he was actually a productive NBA player. The year after they got married and divorced, he was out of the NBA.
Okay, I got 2 words, one name. Travis Scott. Crickets. Crickets.
See, I haven't.
Because he came out with his
to
best
be-
album. Ever.
To be
It was so much better than the first album.
It was.
to be fair, I also don't know as much about Travis Scott's career.
I know this shit.
in when the Kylie, because he's Kylie, right?
Yeah, he's with
Yeah.
Kylie.
He's-
Kylie, yeah.
Yes, like
Stormy.
how their relationship became and where they're at in any of that stuff.
And plus, didn't he take? He took her from Tiger, right?
I don't know.
Or
about
were they
that.
already-
That's like rumors and shit like that. That's just like, oh.
I mean, she was traveling to Boston to his concerts just to like.
All right,
be
so
with him.
Something.
this is still a relatively new thing, and Travis Scott, yes, did come out with Astro World and became, a top
And
5
touring, and he's
rapper.
still
and-
on fire.
Yeah,
Coachella.
and all
The
of
baby's
this.
almost a year.
So
old.
I
I
don't-
think the baby already is already a year old.
So
That's 2 years
is it 2 years?
of them being together at least.
At least.
Oh, okay. Give it another year
Yeah.
and watch Travis Scott's.
Let's see what happens with his next album. Doesn't
Oh my god.
He's not going to be given that 100% because he made his money. He made his name.
I don't know, man. He's still putting out shoes on top of that too. He got his Cactus Jack line with Nike. And those
So they're going to be garbage.
no, they're not. They're retros. He's retroing 1s. He's retroing 4s. I think he has the 31 or whatever, one of the new ones.
This just turned into a pop culture podcast. by the
Yeah,
way. we transform. We're chameleons.
We, motherfucker, I follow it.
You're our source.
Mhm.
I follow it enough to know for the most part.
to be in
But
I
the
know
I'm
the
not-
names.
I'm
to
not
be in
going
the
to.
know.
I can follow at least the storyline. I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to wait for the character development. Like I'm not. Well, the third episode.
Poor character writing.
I'm just looking at the line trajectory. Is it
Yeah.
going up? Is it going down?
I need to start keeping up with them again.
No, you don't.
Oh my god.
No, you don't.
We have different forms of entertainment. You like numbers.
I don't know.
like
I don't.
people.
Look, them as entertainment is fine. I just feel like people are like when they are the type of people that the younger generation is looking up to, and they want to be like Kylie and they want to look like Kim. Like that's
That's like saying kids want to be like Mike. Mike's gambling on his own games.
yeah, but they don't. You're not at 10 years old. You don't know enough about that part of their.
Because it wasn't out there like that.
Because
You can't hold them
ex-
against
exactly,
today's, like,
it's-
just it's the information era. You know everything now. Now you know that Mike was gambling on his own games
Yes.
And winning them.
and winning them. He was betting on
Allegedly,
himself,
really,
yeah.
allegedly gambling on his own games,
Getting
because
suspended because of it for 2 years.
he.
David
Nothing.
Stern.
That's those are all rumors and speculation. There's nothing that's actually like concrete. Well, I believe it. It also, I mean, to me, it also kind of is odd that Jordan left basketball the year that his dad was murdered to play the sport his dad wanted him to play growing up.
Who do you think murdered him?
Charles
No.
Oakley.
They're best friends.
It was Stern.
I want him to myself.
Stern sent the hitman.
Just like Big Pharma sent the gangster to shoot Nipsey.
Oh man,
R.I.P.
that's sad. That's so sad.
So while we went down that little road of pop culture, the Orlando Magic and DJ Augustine
DJ Augustine.
Boy.
back from the dead.
Damn.
I mean, that
Talk
dude-
about Rise of a Phoenix.
shit.
that guy just. I always liked him as a player, and I thought
I always thought he was
had-
very solid.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's a typical UT point guard. Like, look at Avery Bradley, Corey Joseph, DJ Augustine, TJ Ford. Like the list of
He's just a better shooter out of those
like,
guys.
the list of UT guys in the NBA they're like solid players.
And then one is like
and-
arguably one of the best.
I mean, Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge are definitely the
Upper
upper
echelon.
tier of the UT players. And if TJ Ford didn't have the neck injury going up for the dunk,
Speaking of Kevin Durant, we gotta talk about that.
Well,
That
him and Patrick Beverley.
that double ejection. I don't think Patrick Beverley should have got ejected that game.
I don't know.
I don't think he should have got that second tech.
Chicago kid, bro.
I don't think he should have got that second tech. I
That's-
think that tech should have just been
that's
on
base.
KD.
That's based off history.
KD pushed him. That was a second tech.
Yeah.
That should have been it. I think that the ref should have given Patrick Beverley a chance to stand up and talk. Stand up for yourself. Like, you got pushed from the back into the screen. Like, you can't stand up for that. Like, what the fuck?
yeah.
If you push a ref like that, they'll stand up and they'll get in your face.
Push a ref.
I don't know if they would. Joey Crawford definitely would.
Oh, Joey Crawford would fucking.
He would drop kick you in the nuts. I'm shooting a free throw.
He'll
Jesus.
eject you for laughing.
Clapping.
Ask Tim Duncan.
Ew, but yeah, I don't think Patrick Beverley should have got ejected for that.
Yeah, I mean,
that was just based off of reputation.
the thing is that ejection came with like 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wasn't going
but-
to do anything.
No, yeah, it has nothing to do with the time or the game. It was by that point it was essentially junk minutes. You're down by 15
Yeah,
with 5 minutes left.
But, I mean,
against the Warriors.
but Kevin
Like-
Durant in the press conference too, he respects Beverly. Like, it wasn't like, I don't think it was something malicious. It was just, I guess, heat in the moment type of thing. Like,
I don't know, man.
fuck
He,
you.
he did push him and then he stood over him.
They were
well,
they
he's
were going
gonna
at
stood over
it. They were
him
going at it
regardless.
all game.
yeah, but
at the height comparison.
You push,
I think Kevin Durant also got a little butthurt that Patrick Beverley was making fun of him for being a
yeah, of
flopper.
course.
Yeah, I think that hurt him a little bit. We know how sensitive he could be.
Yeah, cupcake. Come on.
We need to be scrolling the depths of Twitter to find that other burner account.
It's Super Shooter 35.
No, he can't use that one anymore. People know about that one. Shooter 35 Super.
It's not a burner when everybody knows about it.
Easy money shooter.
I think he just added an underscore.
Super underscore shooter 35.
Did he just make the $5 a dollar sign and say that this is a different account?
You know, I wouldn't doubt that just because it doesn't seem like he has that much of an imagination to be like, oh, let's just come up with something completely out of there.
I don't think.
What are you
any of them
talking
do.
about? He has his shop show now, the boardroom. Like he didn't take that straight from the book of
Like-
LeBron James.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Bron has his Bron line, like his shoes, right?
Yeah.
LeBron 15, LeBron 16, and then he's got the Soldier line. There's nothing that goes with it. You just know it has a logo on it. You know that logo on the Soldier means that's Bron's shoe. KD has the KD 12, KD 13. And then he's got the Trey 5. Like, really? Like, we know you're gonna have your logo on it, dude. You don't have to have your number on it.
Yeah.
He's got no.
Well, I mean, he's worn that number like all of his career, right? So
Man, I've been in the league like 7 years and I haven't won a championship. Who else was in the league 7 years and didn't win a championship and then switched teams to a super team?
not the 23 that you're thinking of, but it is a 23.
Yep. 123 would never leave a team.
Never
Never.
to join a powerhouse. Because he is his own powerhouse.
Shit, man.
I like how
Facts.
we start talking about these games and then we just say, all right, cool, that game was boring. Let's just talk about
We already talked
Let's
about
talk
the
about
good
the
stuff.
fun part.
let's
of the
talk
game.
yeah, let's
Let's
talk
talk some shit.
let's talk
You want to
shit
talk some
about
shit?
Kevin.
We can talk some shit.
That's what this podcast was supposed to be.
You want to talk some shit? You can
Talk
call
that
me
in.
right now. 555.
Going to set up a Discord right now.
Yeah, bitch.
That'll be 624 shit. Call us at 624 shit.
Call now, motherfucker. But yeah,
I do want to talk a little bit about the actual basketball game though, because
which one?
The actual.
the Warriors.
Oh, the Warriors. Because
Oh.
we just completely went. We
Right,
skimmed right,
right.
through
Yeah,
the.
the only
Which one were we on?
the interesting part of it, the interesting part of the Warriors game was the
Steph Curry.
was the Beverly
That was
Durant
that was
thing.
the only game that
But-
went according.
But
to
the
plan.
the interesting basketball part of the game was Steph Curry having maybe his best playoff game ever.
Also breaking the record for the most threes in the playoffs.
All right,
All right. All right.
Nobody gives a shit. That's
That-
like triple doubles.
like the whole
Nobody gives a
what-
shit.
How is that like
the
triple-
whole shit about him making 400 threes in the year he won unanimous MVP, and they're like, nobody's ever done 400, and I'm like, nobody's ever shot 980 threes in a year. Like, I mean, James Harden just broke that record, but at the time I'm like, he's shooting the ball from 10 times a game, and he's the best shooter ever. Like,
It's
no
his
shit.
game. It's his game.
Yeah, he's going to average 10 a game, and he's going to shoot 40%. You know what, like, 10 a game and making 4, like, that's going to end up making him,
So you're gonna knock him for it?
like, people are like, oh, he did this in 91 playoff games, and Ray Allen had 171 playoff games. I'm like, look at the years that Ray Allen was in the playoffs. Like, look at the playoff numbers. He didn't average more than 5 3-pointers a game, and Steph Curry is averaging double that. Like, no shit, he's already broken the record because he's as good a shooter as Ray Allen, and he's shooting twice as much.
I
Like,
can't-
Ray
I can't
Allen,
knock him for it. That's his game.
like, Ray Allen had a complete offensive game where he was dunking on guys early in his career, and he also played in the era that wasn't, hey, you only need to shoot threes. You know that, right? And, like,
there
we
was hand checking involved
like
too.
there's all sorts of stuff that I hate the hype. He's already broken the record. No shit.
I can't
there-
knock him for it.
I can knock whoever the fuck I want, whenever the fuck I want.
I said I can't.
However the
I
fuck
didn't
I
say
want.
you. I said I can't. I mean, that's his game. His game is shooting the ball,
Right.
and he popularized the 3-point game. Now every team is playing like the Warriors.
No.
Well, I mean not every team, but I mean like they want to emulate it.
Daryl Morey made the threes and free throws only the popular way of playing.
No, I think that's James Harden.
Daryl Morey is the one that put a team around him and got rid of McHale, because before they put in D'Antoni and before Daryl Morey formulated this team around James Harden was still not just free throws and threes.
He was Euro stepping.
He was still, shooting
All the
mid-range
way to El
shots,
Paso.
and he was still
Dog, you talk about that. You talk about fucking Giannis taking 4 steps from half court to the rim.
But was it part of the gather?
When did he pick up the ball?
That was fucking nuts. I was like, Jesus Christ, he took 4 steps, like 2 dribbles. And went from half court to dunk.
But yeah, Daryl Morey pretty much said, all right, look, this is what we're going to do. We're only going to shoot threes. Like, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were great shooters, but shoot, and we all know that. Like, JJ Redick isn't about to go and dunk on somebody. Like, he's going to be shooting threes, and that's what Steph and Klay have always done. Like, I don't think they popularized it in the sense that you were talking about. They did it spectacularly enough to make it look fun.
Yeah, that's why they got the Splash
And-
Brothers nickname.
But as team strategy goes and the way that the league is playing, that got popularized by Daryl Morey in analytics.
Mm.
And what is it? They have the stats seminar up at MIT every year. The summit, some and they talk about analytics and different numbers and stats like that. So that did more of it than Steph and Klay just being great shooters. But he had 38 and broke the record. He also had 15 rebounds. And
But
and
those are just made up numbers
the
compared
only
per Andrew.
Triple doubles are made up numbers.
Oh, triple doubles.
triple doubles,
But not double doubles.
No.
Okay.
Triple doubles is just like you got to be you got to be praised for every triple you get, double you get.
Yeah,
Nobody
see,
gives a shit.
I think the thing me and Andrew talk about with triple doubles is that people are praised to have a triple double. And
Oh my
when
god,
it's-
you got a triple double.
when
Who
it's-
gives a shit?
When it's it's easier to get a triple double in this league than it ever was. Like that's just the thing is that you
Is
look.
it a coincidence that it's only been done average a triple double for the season twice before? Rustar
Yes.
did it 3 years in a fucking row.
Yeah. And if you look at the numbers of triple doubles just total as a league, it went from like 19 triple doubles in 2015 to like 81 the next year. And now we're up over 100. Like triple doubles are easier to get because the game is spread out more shot attempts,
Yeah.
faster pace, and all of that.
I admit that, but if that was the case also, I feel like more players should be
But
averaging a triple double.
Here's the thing that I think it's not as black and white as you're trying to make it sound, Alvin, because it's not, because it goes to like Russell Westbrook gets triple doubles because of the style of play. Like just because he gets a triple
padding.
Just because he gets a triple double doesn't mean that he had a great game. Like Jokic, just because he had a triple double doesn't mean he had a great game. But with Steph Curry's style of play and the type of player he is, the fact that he not only scored a lot of points, which is his game, that if he was scored 50, people wouldn't be surprised. It would be like, oh my God, did you watch that performance? But the fact that he also got 15 rebounds, which isn't part of the game, which means he was going and trying to get those when he normally lets Draymond or KD, even Clay and the big men get them. Like he was showing he had to add the initiative of getting that and set out to get those rebounds like he hadn't done. And he doesn't.
But for Westbrook, that's stat padding.
Well,
he can stat pad.
He does stat pad, and people do like the bigs box out so Westbrook could get the rebound.
Yeah, you see Steven Adams push everybody out of the way so Russ can go up there and grab it. Like,
so Steven Adams is doing his job?
No, Steven Adams' job is to get the rebound.
Well, no. See, that's the thing. Steven Adams' job is to make sure the team gets the rebound. Russell Westbrook plays with such energy that he's going to try to get the ball every single time. Yeah. So him getting 10 rebounds isn't surprising, isn't a big deal. It's normal.
Now it's normal.
Steph Curry after, the third year in a row of doing it. Now it's normal, even though before he was averaging like 7 or 8 a game.
Because traditionally your point guard doesn't get you shouldn't lead the team in fucking rebounds.
Like so what I was saying about the 15 rebounds is that he became the 6th guard in playoff history to have 35 and 15 as far as points and rebounds. Jordan, Kobe, and Russell Westbrook are some of the other guys on that list. I can't remember the other name. I want to say it was Robertson, but I could be wrong there. I can't remember the graphic. But Steph Curry was obviously the only one on that list who is an outside player who doesn't normally get rebounds and averages like 2 rebounds a game in a season. And he went out and had 38 and 15. Like that's the difference of Russell Westbrook getting 38 and 15. We would be more surprised that he got the 38 and how he went about getting 38.
We would have wondered if they won.
But Steph getting 38 and 15, it's more amazing that he got the 15, and that's the difference of playing styles and players. So saying that a triple double was like somebody got a triple double, like getting if Marco Bellinelli got a triple double in game 2, that would be a triple double to be in amazement about because he's probably doing it in like 15 minutes. But somebody playing 38, 40 minutes with the style of play that Draymond or Russ have getting a triple-double, even Jokic, who did get a triple-double, it's kind of like ho hum. Like that's just normal, and it does go to the normality of what Russ does compared to what Steph does. So he was really the big thing with that game, and the tangents allowed us to kind of drag on a little bit and elongate the tonight's podcast. So on Sunday games, you had the ugly Pacers Celtics 84-74, like good old 1992 basketball.
Defense, missing shots, turnovers, typical.
Okay, there we go. The Pacers scored 8 points in the third. Their leading scorer was Corey Joseph with 14.
Oh man!
And this is without Boston having their best defender. Like they
Marcus
don't.
Smart was out.
Yeah, Smart's out the first 2 rounds at least. So, like, I think Indiana going into the playoffs and playing that game is now like, oh shit, we might need Victor Oladipo. And Andrew, you brought up Giannis. that game was out of hand early.
Yeah.
That game,
Giannis wasn't playing, boy.
Nah, he ain't.
he had 24 and 17 in 24 minutes.
He's not here to
But
hear your arguments.
it
No.
doesn't help that Detroit didn't have Blake, who's by far their best player and most important player.
I don't think that would have helped regardless.
No, I don't think so either. but it's definitely isn't going to give you any kind of chance to steal a game in Milwaukee. Really quickly, sweet Milwaukee Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't think they belonged in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They did, because Blake Griffin is probably a second team All NBA player this year.
I give it to him. He developed his game real nice.
And
Yeah, those threes.
It's funny because I don't know if he developed his game more than they just put the pieces around him to be the type of player that he could have been in Los Angeles. Because when Chris Paul got hurt, we saw this Blake Griffin quite a bit, just with more explosiveness and being able to get to the lane. But we saw him being able to shoot 20 to 22 footers. Yeah, that's not quite 3-point range, but he had the ability to shoot from distance. He was able to handle the ball and get assists and all that, but he wasn't with the team to really capitalize on his ability. And so now Detroit is, hey Blake, you need to do everything humanly possible for us to win a game. Celtics Pacers, what do y'all see the outcome of that series being?
I say that's 6.
Celtics in 6?
Yeah,
5-6.
because I think at home Indiana will show up.
Yeah, see, I'm going Celtics in 5 there because you have to have your best players in the playoffs. Like, I think it's what I said about the Spurs, how they always have role players. They always put their best foot forward in the playoffs. I mean, to be fair, they also played the Warriors the last 2 years in the playoffs without their best player in Kawhi. And last year they lost in 5. And the year before they got swept, I believe. Either that or they lost in 5. But when you don't have your best player and you're going up against a team that, their best player being Kyrie Irving is on the floor, it's hard for me to see them losing more than one game. So I have Celtics in 5 there. And I didn't see the outcome of this game. I went to bed. I just looked at it and holy shit. Houston and Utah. I mean, like I watched the early part of the game and it just, Utah looked like they were scrambling a lot of the first quarter. So I was like, oh, Houston's going to win this game. But seeing that they outscored Utah 39-19 in the fourth and won by 32. I know it's game 1, don't overreact, but it's just
They got nobody to guard Harden. They can't stop him.
yeah, it's in their style. They're trying to do what I believe it was Denver who kind of or Milwaukee. Milwaukee did this a couple weeks ago when they beat Houston. They're playing so over the top of the left hand of James Harden to limit his left hand drives. But when they were doing that in the first quarter, he was just getting into the paint and getting passes off and moving the ball around and hitting floaters. Like that's not the way that's probably not going to work every single time. And it didn't. He had 29 points, 10 assists, and easily, handled Utah, who I don't think that they have enough firepower offensively to hang with Houston. Like their best bet would have been getting the 6th spot and playing Portland in the first round than playing Houston. It's just a bad matchup. What do y'all see that series going?
I also think that's a 6.
Houston and 6?
Because I think Utah is better than that, what they showed.
I say Houston in 5.
See, I think I'm kind of leaning towards Houston in 5-2 because I do think Utah will get game 3, but I just don't think they have enough right now. Like they have to rely on Donovan Mitchell going supernova to hang their own, and I do think that he will in game 3 get hot from the floor, but I like I said, I'm leaning 5 because that's asking a lot of Utah to be able to make up for the talent and style difference between the two teams. And then the last game of the weekend was one of the better games, and that's Portland and OKC. In Portland hanging on at home to beat OKC. The big question with Portland going into the playoffs was how are they going to play without Nurkic? And is CJ healthy enough to lead them? And the big question for OKC is where is Paul George on his health? Because if Paul George is 80%, I don't think they have enough. Kind of similar with Utah. Like Russ hasn't been shooting the ball well all year. They've pretty much when they were at their best, it was when Paul George was arguably going to steal the MVP away from Giannis and Russ. I mean, not Russ and James. Harden. And Portland gets 30 from Damian Lillard, 18 rebounds from Enes Kanter, and the battle of the mustache bros. Like Kanter had 20 and 18. That's the guy who is taking the place of Nurkic, and he goes for 20 and 18. And then the big OKC's weak point every year is their 3-point shooting. And Paul George himself was 4 of 15 from 3. Russell Westbrook was 0 of 4 from 3. Dennis Schroeder was 0 of 7 for 3. Fuck, they were 5 of 33 from 3-point line, where Portland was 11 of 25. This series, I think, might last the longest out of all of the series. I mean, I think a couple could go 7, but I do think that this one goes 7. And I see Portland winning in 7 just because they're at home and there's only 3 good road teams, like consistently good road teams all year. And those are the top 3 teams in the league, Golden State, Toronto, and Milwaukee. Everybody else was average, like 500. And I just don't see that OKC will have enough. And I think this is a series where the home team wins every game. How do y'all see this series going, Alvin?
I also think this one is one of the couple that goes 7.
Do you have the home team winning in 7?
I got OKC winning in 7.
I was thinking OKC at 6.
So you have them stealing one of either game 2 or game 5.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because the type of talent they have. I'm a big Damian Lillard fan. He's one of my favorite non-Spurs in the league. And it's just hard. It's hard for me to see him lose, especially the way they lost last year to the Pelicans, getting swept by Anthony Davis going supernova. It's just hard for me to see Damian Lillard going out in the first round this year with a better team than they had last year. So, that's how I see that going. And we have game 2 going on right now with Philly and Brooklyn, and Philly has bounced back. They're up 89-72. Brooklyn having scored 8 points in the third quarter so far to Philadelphia's 24. And there's still 6 minutes left in the quarter.
Oh,
God
yeah.
damn.
So this series, where do we see it? Since we didn't do how we see the series going in the first set of games that we talked about.
I think this one also goes to 7.
Yeah, see, this was the one that I kind of thought might go 7 too.
I see Philly winning the rest of them.
Yeah. Wow.
Getting that one punch in the mouth and being like, wait,
Yeah.
we're bigger. Let's just kind of push your head down into the carpet and give you a little bit of a hoover.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn's given us what we expected.
See,
I
think
don't know, them in Brooklyn is going to be even more hype.
Yeah,
I don't know. I see Philly winning the rest. I don't see.
It'll be
they're gonna be good games. They're gonna be fun games.
I think this one might be the toughest for me to decide because it wouldn't surprise me to see Philly win the next 4, but Philly is the team most in the playoffs that you don't know if you're going to get good Philly or bad Philly from game to game. Like, you don't know if you're going to get this Philly that's up 17 right now, or you're going to get game 1 Philly. It's just so hard to tell because they don't have Joel Embiid should be their focal point, and they should go Joel Embiid is our offense night in, night out, and then we'll feed it down. But night in, night out, it seems like they're trying to figure something out. They're trying to do something different night in, night out. There's no consistency with the structure of the team and the offense and the defense. That just leads to inconsistency. And I mean, I bring up Spurs of the past with Tim Duncan, even though it was obvious Tim Duncan was the best player, but he was the best player, and when it came down to it, it was 4 down. We didn't have to question what was coming. And then when Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili developed into the players they ended up becoming, it was, we're going to run a pick and roll with those 2 guys. Like, there was no question what was going to be ran. Like, everybody watching the game knew what was going to happen. And that's how Philly needs to be. But Philly's just, you can watch them play and you're just like, what are they going to do this game? Is Jimmy Butler going to shoot the ball 35 times? Is Ben Simmons going to get a triple-double and be the catalyst and be the point guard? Is Joel Embiid going to dominate? Like, what's going to happen? And that's why it's so hard for me to really say confidently how I feel like the series is going to go. But I do think that this is another 7-game series where Philly pulled it out, because the Philly home court in game 7 is going to be absolutely nuts. And I think Ben Simmons has a lot to make up for from game 1. So that's how I see that series going. Last 2 series, Clippers Warriors sweep.
I say 4.
Clippers Warriors sweep. Yes.
Yeah. I feel the same way. But you're never really surprised if a home team gets 1. But it's hard to see that this Clippers team getting 1 because it's such a mismatch. Magic Raptors, we already know that it can't be a sweep. How do we see this playing out? Are we on the train that Toronto's going to win out?
Yeah, I say Toronto.
Because I think
5.
Toronto wins out.
I'd say Toronto in 6. Give one more to Orlando at home.
And Spurs Nuggets. How do y'all see the Spurs holding up against Denver?
Spurs in 5.
I have Spurs in 6.
I don't predict Spurs playoffs, so
So forget that I asked.
I was just leading to me saying that. That's really the only reason I asked.
Just one
to
of
see-
your guys' input.
Get y'all's input, and then I've been known to not do anything that might jinx the Spurs. During the season, I'll put them in a prophecy like they'll be the 4 seed. You know what happened when I said they'll be the 4 seed? They lost back-to-back games immediately. So I've never predicted the Spurs playoffs. So I stick to that. Even though, like I said, I never predict them in the playoffs, and they haven't won a championship every year. So like it obviously doesn't work, but I feel let's say I feel very confident of their ability to make a run to the conference finals. But I'm not going to say if I think they'll get there or not. But they do have the ability, and they have the bracket to make it to the conference finals.
I'm saying, but not saying.
And if they play Houston, I will even say that I can see them making it to the finals.
Oh shit!
I think the only team that they don't have a chance of beating is Golden State. And the reason they don't have a chance of beating Golden State is Kevin Durant. They don't have anybody to guard him.
Well, if Pat Beverly can keep him getting those texts,
Right.
Yeah, he'll be suspended.
we'll get one game.
But yeah, that's the only team that I don't see that the Spurs having a chance at beating. So that wraps up the prediction part. We did want to get to what was the most surprising thing that happened over the weekend, as our kind of fire, dire, and prophecy, because we are going to be skipping that this week. For me, the most surprising thing that I saw over the weekend was Derek White's dunk on Paul Millsap. Because like watching that play develop, I watched every minute of that game, and watching Derek White gets just this nonchalant rebound and kind of slowly zigzags up court, and then nobody picks him up, and then all of a sudden he's at the 3-point line and sees he has the opening, and he just explodes. And for a second when it happened, immediately I was like, that looked like a Blake Griffin, like not dunk, but he threw it in. But then they showed the replay, and like you actually see him actually grab the rim and be a traditional posterization, and
not a thrunk.
And yeah, not a thrunk. And on top of that, he also makes the game-saving steal and just pickpockets Jamal Murray super clean. And those were the two. Well, the dunk was definitely the most surprising play. I can't really say that the steal's surprising because of how good defensively he is. But yeah, that dunk was just, I think that was the best play of the weekend. So, Alvin, what was the most surprising thing of the NBA playoffs first games?
I gotta go with the Toronto and Orlando, like we mentioned earlier.
What about it?
The most surprising, like
the Raptors raptored, and DJ Augustine thought he was back in 2009.
Like you had the Raptors raptored, Kyle Lowry being Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, and you go under the pick, and it was like a slight hesitation, like a 3-second hesitation. Nobody like was like, oh shit, DJ Augustine has the ball up top of the key, straight ahead, 3-point shot. Like It was just horrible defense at the end of that. Like, gave him a clean look.
The fact that he had 25 points, that
Exactly.
like nobody saw that coming. Like if somebody was to say, "Oh yeah, Vucevic had 25 and 10," or Aaron Gordon had 30 and 5, like you'd be like, "Okay." DJ Augustine had 25 in the game-winning three-pointer.
You would say that and it'd be like, "Oh, but the Magic still lost." Nah.
Just the box score is just astounding to me. Like Leonard and Siakam going for 25 and 24, shooting well from the field, and then Terrence Ross, who kind of has been such a like streaky player, was 2 of 11. Vucevic 3 of 14. Aaron Gordon 3 of 10. Like 3 of their top 5 or 6 players playing, poorly, but still being able to pull out a win because you get 25 from DJ Augustine, 16 from Evan Fournier, 11 from Jonathan Isaac. So that that was definitely something. I couldn't believe when I saw the score. I was out at dinner, and Andrew texted, "Hell of a game." I looked at the score and saw that the 104-101 line, and I was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened?
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that last play. I was just like, really?
All right, Andrew, wrap up the week. What was the most surprising thing to you?
Most surprising thing would probably be Tiger. Just going back, I wouldn't say everybody's counted him out, but everybody's had their doubts about him. It's been talk. There's been rumblings. It's like, is Tiger gonna make a comeback? Is Tiger gonna make a comeback? Then it kind of dulled down. And then I think it was Friday. It just started up again, and it started differently. It's just like Tiger's looking hot. Saturday, Tiger's on a roll. If it wasn't for like a fucking lightning delay, he would have finished even hotter.
Yeah, that didn't help, and he was pissed about it.
Yeah, he had to get off the course because there was a lightning warning,
you
and then he got kicked by one of the ushers.
That was awesome. That was so funny when
it could have been that much better. It's so just to see it develop and just grow. It's like a fucking snowball.
Yep. Snowball effect. Yep.
Yeah.
It was great.
So again, congrats to El Tigre. I'm happy to see that he's officially back. In winning
officially official.
It's officially official. We have playoff basketball to go and watch. Unchecked again, and Philly went up by 25, so they should comfortably win game 2. Golden State and the Clippers, game 2 is tonight, and then Spurs Tuesday night. I'm going to game 4 because tickets were like $20.
Yep.
I was like, fuck yeah.
I'll wait to get the text on Wednesday.
Well, if y'all go on Saturday, we can get there early and raise some hell.
Yeah. It's like, nah, man.
So, that wraps up this edition of the Benchwarmers podcast. I am Casey Coggins, and I'm always joined by Alvin Hebert,
Deuces,
and Andrew Lira.
See ya.
Go Spurs,
of a different kind. I will take